I can imagine I would be here. Thank you, Tony, to invite me here. And so it's a long policy that I have to present you, because to become the green capital, European green capital, it was a very long project to obtain this title. And more, we need a long-term strategy. So sorry for the rush of pictures, the rush of words in a very bad English, but I think I would like to invite you to share this city. So, okay, so this city is very famous for a rich patrimony. So with nice buildings and nice landscapes. It's a city of the old capital of the Britain. So close to the Atlantic Ocean and at the end of the River Loire. So it's Louis XIV who decided to favorize the introduction of plants in this very big port, the main port in the west side of France during the last centuries. And so we have the opportunity to acclimate in this city with a climate adapted for that, and we acclimate a lot of kind and different species and plants. So we have a green city and blue city like this image. The city itself is, we have in the city itself about 300,000 people, and for the metropole area, it's twice the size with 600,000 inhabitants. So for some newspaper in the recent years, the city is sometimes the greenest city or the best place to live. It's, for example, given for a French magazine, but also with a Time magazine. And more recently, it was the luckiest city in France, not in France. In France or in Europe? In France, thank you. Okay, next time in Europe. Okay, maybe, we try it. Okay, so European Green Capital was a challenge of the last year. We was following some city like Stockholm, Hamburg, Vitoria-Gasteiz, and presiding, so this year, Copenhagen, and Bristol for the next year. So the criteria for that was 12. 12 criteria. We have no time to talk about every criteria. Some of them was about biodiversity, some of them about green spaces, about how to work about the change of climates, about transport, and so on. So we have a very big trauma of green corridors, of strolls, with 46 kilometers of strolls along some river. 10 rivers converge in the center of the city, and it's 250 kilometers of strolls for the metropole itself. So we have no time to see all this little movie, but just to see that this river, these strolls along the river, you are able to go from one point to another point and to links, for example, the 100 parks and gardens, which... Thank you. Okay, so 100 parks and gardens in the city, and a lot of visitors are going every day in every of these parks and gardens. And we measure, and we can have a short word about that theme. We try to measure what is the impact in frequentation for all these roads, all these parks, and it's millions and millions of visitors who converge in these parks, gardens, and strolls. With one park within 500 meters from each houses, and it's 300 meters from a green spaces to from a stroll or garden from a house. It's possible so for each people to have a green discover just close from their housing. So we are going from the city of 100 gardens with very large number to a city in a garden. So this concept is very big aim we are working about. So we have to create now new links, new layout inside the city itself, even in the center. So it should be also just with the inhabitants to promote some seedings at the base of the trees, for example, in street. So we have different possibilities to obtain this city inner garden. One of the big possibility is to plant some trees. With 300,000 trees in the city itself, we can consider also that the city is a kind of city arboretum. That's thousands and thousands taxa you can discover all over your strolls in the city. It's a flowery city also, at the highest level of the French challenge about flowery city. So it's a long time ago we engaged this program of flowering. But we don't want to be only a show. It's not only a show. It's not only an ornamentation project. It's a place where people want to live. So for something else before is to say that the spring is very early here. One step ahead, maybe because of the very mild weather in the spring. During March and October, you can discover a great range of varieties of magnolias, for example, or camellias or prunus and so on, with the main collection of these plants, I think, in France, sure. And for some of them, it may be one of the main collection also in Europe. So, okay, we have no time to see everything. So just consider it's possible to find a lot of different kind of plants. So it's also now a big program to engage allotments programs with more than 1,000 plots. It was interesting to work about what we named the shared garden. Shared garden was a project was a award we obtained in 2003 at the Eurocity Congress. And we have, so on this subject, it was a picture before, sorry, but we have on this project a lot of experiments to welcome people and to share some practices around education, composting, and so on. So it's important parts of our activities. So to realize this work, the city, we need about 300 gardeners, and it's about 500 people with different specialties. So we pay a large attention to have some people well trained. That's also, so we need some school. We need to be invested on the local schools all around. Myself, a vice president or a president of the schools around. And so there is a big link between the school, between the public services, and also between the professional, the nursery also, and so on. So the shared garden, those the concept I just talked just about, just a few pictures on this subject. So a place where you can organize a lot of events. That's also the big change in the last year. It's to welcome more and more events in this garden, in this park, and at the initiative of the new associations, the numerous associations too, and also at our own initiative, or in links with a very strong links with the culture services. And so, for example, yesterday in the evening, there was a presentation realized by my colleagues of the culture project on the name of Voyage à Nantes. It was in London. So we have different exhibit or events like Plant Madness. It was the last one in September, during 2 days, and it's about 1,500,000 people coming to discover, to have some information, but also to buy some plants. So it is in one of the main parks of the city, le Parc du Grand Blotreau. We have also some events around the perfume rose. Next time it will be in June of 2015. And the main show is Les Floralies. The Floralies was the last show in May with 500,000 people coming for this show during 10 days. So with outside or inside project, like for example this project with Strobels, flowered Strobels. It's possible also to use parks to realize some fairy night projects. So that's a new way with low consumption lighting. It's possible now to realize some interesting presentation during the night. In the strategy of this green city is, for example, Fedo Island project was quite characteristic. At the beginning, it was the river. We go all around this island of the center of the city. They decided in the middle of the 20th century to fill up the river to permit for the car and to progress and to circle in the city. About 20 years ago, we decided to come back this project and to come again, not the water, it was too difficult, but green spaces and green lawns. That's what you can see here. And we realized an event during one summer to welcome and to coming back some boats, marsh boats and plants. You can see with mist, it was possible to have the picture maybe of what was before this place on the lawn. It was a huge success, as you can see, with this boat. And you can see during the summer, you have this kind of people coming on your quay. It's a free entrance, yes, okay. It's million people, really. So you can see that if you have some creative projects around green with water combined, I agree with you. The two things are very interesting to combine. You can welcome a lot of people. So now we are quite organized to realize some events, green and blue. So, for example, the dance of the blue trees with a famous land artist from Australia, Christine O'Loughlin. We decided to do a big walking of green trees, of blue trees in the city itself. Inside the city also, the project of the gourmet station is now very well installed. At the beginning, it was also only for one event. We very often do something for only one event. But the problem is that the people want to go on. So now, it's 4 years ago, we realized this project. And now with about 10,000 shrubs and trees, fruit trees and fruit shrubs. And now we have to go on because the people want them. And beyond that, we have to realize that kind of program now, and we realize that kind of program in the social housing surrounds. And so people can pick up the fruits, can pick up some vegetables, can participate. It's about the same way that the edible and credible, you know already in UK. Sorry. This place is in the center itself also. It was quite mineral, as you can see. It was also a park place only 12 years ago. Only cars around, and a place quite sad. And we decided to transform only for one event too, this place, and to welcome a lot of plants and floating gardens on some raft. You can see the transformation. So with only raft and green, you can change absolutely the atmosphere. And people now enjoy so much this project. When we decided to give the end of the project 4 months after, it was about 4 years ago, people send us a lot of letters, a lot of email to say us and Twitter and so on to say, oh, it's a pity, you have to go on. So we decided for the last year, for the Green European Challenge, to come again with this project. But now this project is, I think, for a long time, because it's so interesting. It was not so expensive. Green is not so expensive. This project is really not expensive. And the better is it's okay on the environmental impact. We can measure, for example, new species are coming in this place in the center of the city. For the first time, we discover new nature species, so it's quite interesting on the environmental point. It's also economically okay, because we have installed you have seen the boats, what we name the washing boat. And the washing boat now, it's a very nice pub place and restaurant place, and only with the incomes of the restaurant, we paid all the projects. It's only 2 years. Okay, so this place is quite interesting to see also. It is in the social housing areas. It was a derelict place at the beginning, like that, with some littering and so on. And we decided to do something like in a Monet garden, you know, the Monet garden in France, where so with nymphaeas and lotus and so on. And now it was not the most costly project of all the area of the city. The city is we invest a lot of money, but this project was it was a few really, but the impact is very big, and so big that now when we help to the investors are coming back to new program of building. You can see, and even on the things they use the image, the picture of that lake and on that layout. So it's okay. You have some at the end. You have financial impact. It's quite interesting to see this lane. It's close from the castle in the center of the city. It's the same kind of transformation we are doing just right now. If you come now, you can see the mirror. It's just we are finishing the mirror, but already we have absolutely created the link between this part and this part, and now we obtain more green spaces inside the city itself. So it's less for the car, absolutely. It's less for the car in the city since a long time. And now it's more safe also for the cycling path and for the cycler. I myself a cycler. I do for my work about 2,000 kilometers with my cycler. You can see maybe it's okay for me. It's a very good way against stress, and also it's a best way to discover the sea, to welcome the people, to see the gardener, to see the people I can know everywhere. And so I think it's really a great change of the strategy in the city. So this city was based at the beginning for cars, you can see, filling the river for the car, and now we are coming absolutely back to have this kind of project. Sorry, it's a lot. When you go outside of the city, you can discover this project, quite this loopy project, okay, and so. It's a possibility also to discover all the history of the river until the ocean with some very interesting art installation with very famous artists like Tadashi Kawamata or Kinya Maruyama. And so to promote also the tourists and the discovering of the river until the end of the river and of the city of Nantes itself. So you can see all these projects are now possible to visit. And it works quite well, as we can see yesterday in the evening. The presentation was made on this subject. Okay, so this point is a very natural place in the center of the city too, really close to the railway station. At the beginning, it was a place reserved to realize a motorway. It was the main motorway. In the master plan of the city, you have to do a motorway in each French city. You going through the city to the castle, straight to the railway station, and then you have just to stop and to come. Okay, but during this time, the place was just reserved during years and years, and it remains like a marsh with new species. And we discover in this place new species. And it was a very interesting place. And the mayor decided to transfer this place in a 2,000 Natura zone area. So now it's a protected area, not anymore motorway for the future. Only a souvenir. You can see here the wheel toll is absolutely the place where should be the real toll for the motorway, but it's a wood toll. And if you go at the top of the wood toll, you can see the natural place and say, okay, not so bad. For an event too, in the moat of the castle during the summer, the last summer, some art exhibit, you can see it for during 2 years or 3 years, I think so, with Patrick Dougherty. Patrick Dougherty is a very famous landscape architect. You can see also all the links between culture, nature, and horticulture and garden and so on. Very interesting to do that because you get some invest together, and so that's what people want to do. See also, it's not only art, it's also friendly place for people. So children enjoy to go inside, to go and to run all around. So I think it's a big challenge of the last year to have some art and trendy project, but this project to be also welcomed by a big number of people. You can see, for example, this project. I think it's the biggest swimming pool with balls I can see, maybe. Okay, but it's incredible the impact during the last summer too, because not only the children, but the adults use it. And that's also what we can discover for the next year, that people and adults are becoming younger and younger. They want now some story, telling story. They want to play in the ball swimming pool and so on. So I think you have to mind about that. We mind about that really, because people are really in this strategy now. So, for example, we do this project with Kenya Maruyama, which is an architect who realized the garden at the history of the city, at the end of the river. And so it's really a very attractive place, playground area, but it's also really an attractive display, art display. So we can combine the two things. This story is also interesting. It's with a very famous French author not cartoon, drawer. It's a drawer. It's an illustrator for children. Okay, and so I meet this man. I say, "Can you come with me and maybe discover my garden?" And this garden, the oldest one, the botanical garden. Maybe you can have some idea, some drawing for me. So he does the drawing, and then we realize for him with my gardeners, with my carpenters, with my landscape design bureau, and so on. We transform the project. It's a huge success, really. So you have the story. So these benches, for example, have a story. You can read the story. These animals are crossing all over the garden. And now with all that, this garden is becoming, in only 4 years, the most attractive place on TripAdvisor of the last year. So it was so a big success that we obtained this challenge. So you can imagine the impact is very interesting about tourism too. Okay. So the telestory the storytelling is also born in Nantes with Jules Verne, which was born himself in Nantes. And we have famous author who works together, the French company Royal Deluxe with the Giant, but also La Machine with François de la Rosière and Pierre Réfis, who create the big spider, for example, or the flying greenhouses you can see here. So this elephant is now possible to visit. Maybe you have already seen it in Nantes. It's now a very attractive place for people. But also the very big merry-go-round on the park. And in the future, we hope the big great trees, the heron trees, for which we realize some tries. And okay, the possibility to discover mechanic caterpillar, mechanic carnivorous plant, and so on. So this machine, this flying greenhouses, is traveling all over the world now with a show. Not in London for the moment, maybe for the next time, I don't know, but in different cities of the world. So to finish, when I'm talking about the impact, for example, during the 2 last months, June and August, we welcome 500,000 people in the garden with a free entrance, but the impact of only that is about 4 million euros because people buy something in the garden and all around with the shops and so on, and we can consider that the impact is great. And we are for this garden, so it's the main attraction now for the number of people, but the castle is also, the machine with the elephant is a big success and so on. So we are a place in France which have a good result about tourism of the last years. So with a big increase of the last year, and only for my garden it was 30% tourism more in 1 year, the last year, and in 4 years it's twice people. So we are going to, I think for this year, for the first time, to 2 million people for this garden, maybe. Okay, thank you. That's the end of this presentation. It's not really directly the impact of all these projects. We can give you more about this subject. There was a big presentation, a big work realized with some scientists. The name was Weistud. It's a very bad name, but I don't decide for the name. But Weistud was quite interesting to measure what is the impact in terms of well-being, social impact, but also in terms of warming or unwarming in the city itself, and so on. So if you want some information and some information on that subject, it's possible to get the abstracts on this Weistud program. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jacques.